Before we start, we advise viewers to consider carefully. The following content is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. The sixth day of Diddy's trial started like any other, with reporters rushing to cover the next possible scandal. But no one was prepared for what happened when Monique, yes, Monique, took the stand. What had been seen as a decades-long Hollywood feud suddenly became federal court testimony. The connection she made between Diddy, Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, and Bishop T.D. Jakes froze the courtroom. She didn't just bring words. She brought timelines, receipts, audio, and a kind of truth that made everyone sit up and listen for the first time. Monique was sworn in to testify about what she had been warning us about for years. What she said changed everything. We thought we knew what this trial was about. The gallery was packed even before the doors opened. On Friday, journalists lined the hallways, eager to see if any new headlines would break. What they didn't expect was Monique, the Oscar-winning actress, comedian, and outspoken Hollywood critic, walking in confidently but quietly through the side entrance. Diddy's legal team exchanged looks. Prosecutors shuffled their papers with a new sense of urgency. The atmosphere thickened. No one had her name on the witness list. But as soon as she stood up, the whole room's energy shifted. Diddy, wearing a charcoal suit, looked tense. He leaned toward his lawyer, whispering with a hint of confusion. Cameras weren't allowed inside, but courtroom sketch artists captured the moment. His trademark calm was gone. His eyes twitched slightly. Monique clenched her jaw, sat up straight, and spoke firmly from the first word. "I was asked to be here to tell the truth, and that's exactly what I intend to do after all these years." She had been warning the world about what happens behind Hollywood's velvet curtain. She shared stories about being black in Hollywood, backed by voices like Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, and Lee Daniels. People mocked her, calling her bitter and overreacting. But now, sworn in a federal court, those warnings are being taken very seriously. The judge allowed her to read from a timeline she had prepared. It documented her personal dealings with people now circling this trial like vultures, listing exact dates of meetings, phone calls, broken promises, and offers made behind closed doors. Under the guise of opportunity, the prosecutors nodded in agreement. Some even cited notes from earlier testimony by Cassie Ventura. And just like that, the trial wasn't just about Diddy anymore. Monique's second statement didn't target Diddy directly. It was aimed at Tyler Perry and landed like a bombshell. She described a private phone call with Perry in 2018, during which he admitted that her blacklisting in Hollywood was unfair. "He told me he was wrong," Monique testified. "He said he would apologize publicly, but he never did." Instead, she said, Perry told her that if he apologized publicly, it would affect people who weren't ready to be exposed when asked who he was referring to. Monique looked straight at the jury and said, "Puff, that's the person he's worried about. Puff, Daddy, Diddy, whatever you want to call him." Everyone watching the trial was stunned. Even the prosecution team exchanged looks. This isn't just a drama. It's potential evidence of collusion across the industry. Monique went further, saying Perry told her he couldn't take the risk because too many people were tied up, with too many NDAs. Then she presented a written transcript of a call where Perry told her, "There are things going on that I can't make public. We've all seen things at Puff's parties that we aren't allowed to talk about." The judge allowed the transcript as evidence, but banned the audio until it could be verified. What made this moment so powerful wasn't just the accusation. It was chilling to realize that many Hollywood elites might know what's happening at Diddy's events, but stay silent to protect their brands. Diddy's defense lawyers immediately objected, saying Monique's testimony was purely speculative. But the prosecution successfully argued that this provided necessary context about how silence and reputation management protected Diddy for years and enabled abuse. And then the moment that really made everyone turn their heads came. Monique took a breath, adjusted the microphone, and said words that would surely make headlines by the hour. "I once went to one of Diddy's parties and had to leave because I saw something I shouldn't have." She testified that in 2006, she was invited to a private gathering in Los Angeles. The invitation came from a friend, a fellow actor, who told her it was an exclusive invite and a chance for Monique to network. She arrived at a sprawling estate in the Hollywood Hills. A server took her phone. She was escorted inside. There were candles, soft R&B music playing, and male and female guests were taken into back rooms in rotation. I remember a woman in high heels and a man wearing only a bathrobe. I remember one of Diddy's assistants saying, "Everything here depends on experience. You'll be safe if you sign the NDA." That's when I walked out. She didn't sign. She never came back. What followed were just whispers. Monique said her phone stopped ringing when it came to important roles. Invitations to film festivals dried up. She heard a producer say she was being difficult, but she never forgot that night and always suspected that leaving made her a liability. The prosecution asked if she believed this was standard practice at Diddy's events. She nodded. "I think it was set up as a system. And when I refused to participate, I was cut out." Her testimony echoed what Cassie Ventura and others had described. Candlelit rooms, hidden cameras, experiences involving hired escorts, and luxury hotels disguised as social havens. But what made Monique's story stand out was her perspective as a respected actress. Not an underling, she entered on her own terms and stepped out with a career slowly crumbling behind her. When the prosecution asked if she believed Tyler Perry actively protected Diddy's image, she didn't hesitate. "Yes," she said, "and I believe it was a strategic coordination, part of a bigger effort to keep things quiet." She recalled a famous moment many have seen on social media. Tyler Perry walked into Bishop T.D. Jakes' church and wrote a $1 million check right in front of the congregation. "People saw it as a blessing," Monique said, "but I witnessed the deal. That donation wasn't just charity. It was damage control. The church was a shield, and people like Diddy used it to build alliances that made them untouchable." Whispering started to fill the courtroom. Even the judge looked up at the jury, who were frantically taking notes. Monique testified that around the time Perry made the church donation, rumors about Diddy and his parties quietly vanished from gossip blogs. "That's when I knew people were being paid off, influenced, and silenced. That $1 million wasn't just for Jake. It was for peace. It was for silence." The prosecution presented photos showing just weeks after that donation, Harry and Diddy appeared together at a BET event, arm in arm, smiling brightly, as if the world had no idea about the accusations. This image supported Monique's claim that the entertainment industry not only protected Diddy, but elevated him. Then she paused and looked right at the judge. "You see, I'm no longer afraid of being the black belt. I've been through that, and let me tell you something. Silence is the highest price we pay. And we've all paid that price." By this point in her testimony, the courtroom was silent. Monique reached into her pocket and pulled out a printed copy of documents. She said, "This is the call to action." A tape where Tyler Perry admits he was wrong. Breathless, whispering. For years, Monique said Tyler Perry privately apologized for how she was treated after this unfortunate incident. But now she's saying it under oath with a transcript to prove it. "I recorded the conversation. He knew I told him that he agreed." She handed the papers to the officer, who passed them to the judge. The judge skimmed the first few lines, then nodded for the prosecution to continue recording the statement. Perry reportedly said, "I know I messed everything up. He was never difficult. He just didn't want to work for free. I should have said that publicly." Then he turned and told Monique, "But I can't go public with it. Puff's name is being hidden way too much." The prosecutor seized this moment to explain why Hollywood's elite, even those with clean reputations, fear these consequences. "If Diddy's secret got out," Monique told me, "if Puff falls, a lot of people go down with him. Those who finance films, those who write the checks." Her testimony confirmed what former bodyguard Gene Deal and even Christian Keys hinted at, that Diddy's network isn't just about personal power. It's an institutional issue. Monique's voice grew more emotional. "He had a chance to clear my name. He didn't because he's protecting something bigger than me, something darker than anyone wants to admit." The judge ruled the transcript copy acceptable. A big win for the prosecution, and Diddy's lawyers looked stunned. A friendly phone call just became federal evidence. Then a name never before mentioned in this trial immediately caused a stir in the courtroom. Oprah Winfrey. Monique didn't mention her by accident. She brought up an issue from 2010. I told Oprah a private story that I was abused by my brother as a child. She said she would never exploit that. But she did. She brought my brother onto her show, and she did it right after I refused a valuable press tour. The court didn't know how to handle that. It was emotional, heavy, but Monique didn't stop there. She betrayed me. And when I asked why, she said it was business. But I know the truth. They were trying to silence me. Then she shifted, linking Oprah, Perry, and Diddy through shared NDAs, PR crisis teams, and mutual handlers. She testified that they all had the same people cleaning up the mess. And I know this because one of the PR staff accidentally forwarded me an email chain with my name, Puff's name, and Tyler's name all in the subject line. The issue is optical management. She submitted an edited version of that email for the judge to review, but the message was clear. The power structure wasn't just protecting Diddy. It was coordinated. Everyone signed NDAs. Everyone got paid. Careers were either built or buried depending on who played along. And Monique, while under oath, spoke the truth clearly. A silent machine was created to crush anyone who asked questions. The jury watched as she closed the file. Her voice never wavered. She wasn't confused. She didn't have to be, because this was the first time she wasn't just telling her story. She testified after the court resumed from a short recess. Monique did something no one expected. She took a breath and calmly said, "Now, let's talk about this list." The room fell silent again. The prosecution leaned in, hoping she would keep talking. There's a list in Hollywood. Even though it's not written down, everyone knows it exists. It's the list of people you don't cross. The untouchables. Puff's name is on it. Tyler's name is on it. And Oprah basically created it. She explained that this list isn't an actual document, but an invisible boundary. Monique said the moment you criticize one of these figures, even with proof, you're immediately labeled difficult, crazy, or worse, dangerous to the industry. She found herself on the wrong side of that line back in 2010, and she's been fighting to push back ever since. Not to accuse, but to provide context. Isn't it strange? She said, how many people who worked with Diddy, Tyler, and Oprah suddenly disappeared? She cited actors who had one hit show, one award season buzz, then vanished. Some of them didn't play the game. Some said no. Then she lowered her voice and said, and some saw things they were never supposed to see. The court allowed her to read a short, redacted statement from a former actor describing a retreat held by a powerful male filmmaker where phones were taken, contracts signed, and strange rituals performed. Monique didn't name Tyler Perry explicitly, but she didn't deny the implications either. She made the jury nervous. The judge reminded everyone these were just allegations, but Monique's message was unmistakable. This industry doesn't protect art. It protects secrets and punishes truth-tellers. They'll take your career, your reputation, your peace, and leave you to explain to the world why your phone never rings anymore. When asked directly if she believed Diddy played a role in sabotaging her career, Monique nodded. Yes, not at first, but later on, yes. And I didn't realize how deep it went until years later. She explained that after the fallout from the boycott campaign started, she got a call from a junior executive who had worked at Diddy's Revolt TV. He told me, and I quote, "You pissed off the wrong people. Not just Tyler and Oprah. Puff doesn't like noise either." The court leaned in. Monique testified the executive implied Diddy had been approached by Perry's team to collaborate on future projects. The deal was simple. She said they wanted access to Puff's platform, and she was the obstacle. She said Perry and Diddy had multiple meetings behind closed doors. She only found out through mutual contacts later. They were talking about me not because of talent, but because I was a problem. Then the prosecution presented emails between a PR firm hired by both Revolt and Tyler Perry Studios, discussing managing stories around Monique and Cassie Ventura. For the first time, the court saw a direct digital link showing how the reputations of both women were carefully manipulated simultaneously. That moment was truly painful. Monique went on to say she believed her difficult label was deliberately spread. They used it like a virus, infecting casting directors. It would soon spread to everyone. Your name came up in the room, and they had a reason to say no. Then, under oath, she said something few dare say in Hollywood. I wasn't blacklisted. I was mistreated by black people. People who look like me and who fear losing their place more than they care about what's right. Yes, I didn't want to be here. Monique started speaking in a steady but tired voice. But I had to do this because what they did to me, what they did to Cassie, what they're doing to young women and men now won't stop unless someone speaks louder than they do. She explained she was contacted by the prosecution 2 months earlier and at first said, "No, I'm not going to relive this." She said, "I won't expose my family, my pain, and trauma again." But then I saw the Prince recording. I saw Diddy yelling in court. I saw Cassie break down on the stand. That's when she said she broke down. Monique described her final decision to testify as a spiritually clear moment. I heard my grandmother's voice say, "Honey, don't let them write your story when you're not in the room." And I knew I had to be there. Her last moments on the stand witnessed a horrifying scene. The prosecutor asked, "In your opinion, Mrs. Jackson, what's the root cause of this whole system of silence?" Monique answered, "Fear. Everyone in this industry is scared. Fear of losing their job, fear of losing contracts, fear of losing relevance, and fear of speaking the truth because people like Puff, like Tyler, and yes, like Oprah have made it very costly." She looked over at Diddy and quietly said, "You thought no one would speak up, that you built an empire strong enough to keep everyone silent. But now you're sitting there quietly, and I hope you finally hear us." As she stepped down, court reporters described Diddy as visibly stunned. His hands were shaking. His lawyer whispered angrily. The courtroom didn't erupt with noise, but with energy. It was the moment the courtroom felt the tide turn. For over a decade, Monique Blackball had just become the most powerful voice in the trial. The courtroom had been tense for days. But no one expected what happened when Monique locked eyes with the defense and whispered a name that hadn't been officially said even once in the previous 5 days. Tyler Perry. It wasn't a shout. It wasn't dramatic. It was silent, controlled, like someone finally took a loaded gun out of a locked drawer. You want to talk about power? You want to talk about silence? Ask Mr. Perry why I got fired up after refusing to work for free, and then see who's standing right next to him at every event. At first, the courtroom was speechless. The courtroom looked confused. Tyler Perry wasn't on trial. His name wasn't in the indictment, but Monique's implication wasn't about legality. It was about culture, about the system, about who protects who. He never lifted a finger to help me, but he made calls to make sure no one else did either. Ask the producers, ask the agents, ask Lee Daniels. I have call logs. She continued, holding up a stack of files not even entered into evidence yet. The defense objected immediately, but it was too late. The jury heard it a big Hollywood name, a man many believed was untouchable. Monique went even further. I know who showed up at the parties. I know which NDAs were enforced. I saw people sign them right in front of me. I was told not to speak, and when I did, my work dried up. I was told, be grateful, you're lucky to be here. Then, she said something that even the prosecution went silent over. I have a recording of Tyler's phone call apologizing for everything he admitted to. He was wrong, but he refused to go public. He said it would ruin everything. She looked straight ahead. I'm done protecting men who never protected me. That one statement carried more weight than any evidence the courtroom had seen that week. Suddenly, this wasn't just about Diddy. It was about the entire power structure that let him get away with it unchecked. Monique wasn't just pointing at Diddy. She was pointing right at Hollywood itself. And for the first time in the trial, the jury wasn't just looking past the man sitting at the defense table. They were looking at everyone who helped him.